It has been a number of years since I began excavating the ruins of Kandar with a group of my colleagues. Now my wife and I have retreated to the small cabin in the solitude of these mountains. Here, I continued my research undisturbed by the myriad distractions of modern civilization and far from the groves of academe. I believe I have made a significant find in the Kandarian ruins, a volume of ancient Sumerian burial and funerary incantations. It is entitled Naturom de Monto, roughly translated, the Book of the Dead. The book is bound in human flesh and inked in human blood. It deals with demons, demon resurrection, and those forces which roam in the forest and dark bowers of man's domain. The first few pages warn that these enduring creatures may lie dormant but are never truly dead. They may be recalled to active life through the incantations presented in this book. It is through recitation of these passages that the demons are given license to possess the living. I shall now transcribe the following passage. Tanter amis trobin hazarta, tanter manav mishazin sobar kanda, kunda estrata montose, kanda, kanda, kanda. It is the Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon. Kanda, Estrada, Montuse, Kanda. I want to start this by giving you all a point of reference to my history with the Evil Dead franchise. When I was a kid, my parents owned a VHS copy of The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn. I always watched them with my family and was expressly forbidden from watching them alone, but due to the iconic skull with eyes on the front of the cover of Evil Dead 2, I would constantly find myself popping them into our VCR and watching them alone, scaring myself to death. So much so
so that my parents would hide them from me, and I would eventually find them and continue watching them. That went on for years, and I still find myself rewatching all the movies at least once a year. So when I say I'm a lifelong Evil Dead fan, you know I'm telling the truth. One of the things that makes the Evil Dead 1981 so special is the fact that it was made on a $375,000 budget, which after adjusting for inflation would be $514,000 today. Not to mention that it was made by a bunch of friends as young as 19. And Sam Raimi was 19 when he made the Evil Dead on a shoestring budget back in 1981. The movie only got a regional theatrical release in Detroit, but didn't get a wide theatrical release until 1983. So it was a straight-to-home video release and still earned $29.4 million, which after adjusting for inflation would be $107.7 million today. At the time, it was the single most successful straight-to-video release ever, until finally being beat by Disney's The Lion King 2: Simba's Pride, which made $460 million in 1998. Then, they released Evil Dead 2: Dead by Dawn in 1987 with a worldwide theatrical release. It was made on a $3.5 million budget and grossed $5.9 million globally. Evil Dead 2 is also the movie when we got the Ash Williams we all know and love today. Absolutely no shade towards the 1981 Ash, but he was kind of a pussy. It was also a total tone shift from the first one, which was a very bold choice to do as your first sequel to your first big hit movie. But against all odds, it worked. In fact, it more than just worked. Raimi was able to find that perfect tone between possession horror and slapstick comedy, which is why it's my favorite Evil Dead movie and why it's widely considered the best in the franchise. Evil Dead has since gone on to become a horror staple and a household name among horror fans. That is now 5 movies in, with the 6th and 7th coming very soon. Since Sam Raimi has stepped away from the director's chair, we've received 2 new Evil Dead films. First, there was Fede Alvarez's Evil Dead 2013, then Lee Cronin's Evil Dead Rise in 2021. With now 2 more on the way, with Sebastian Vanisick's, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Evil Dead Burn releasing July 10th, 2026. With Evil Dead Wrath set to release April 7th of 2028, Evil Dead 2013 was a fantastic new addition to the franchise, serving as a remake and reboot for the franchise, and since following its success is now considered a sequel rather than a remake. It was a scary, gory, visceral, violent, everything we Evil Deadites crave, with the dialogue being its only major shortcoming. Then in 2021, when we received Lee Cronin's Evil Dead Rise, which changed their traditional setting and formula by setting it in an apartment building in Los Angeles and making our characters a family rather than a group of friends. While being less violent and gory than the 2013 Evil Dead, it's much more claustrophobic, personal, and gave us the single best Deadite performance in Alyssa Sutherland. Now with Sebastian's Evil Dead Burn just a month away, I figured I'd make this video and give you my thoughts, as well as address some of the concerns I've been seeing online. So, since the release of the official trailer for Evil Dead Burn and the announcement that this Evil Dead would be a horror action take on the franchise, the reactions have been nuts. I would say the majority of fans are largely excited for Evil Dead Burn, or at least optimistic towards the film. However, I have been seeing some concerns regarding the franchise taking this new direction. One of the major concerns I've seen is that the action will take away from the horror elements, or that it will be a clash in tone, with some fans saying they're afraid the action will be the primary focus. I'm personally not worried about either of these concerns. Evil Dead, while not only being one of the most consistently good horror franchises out there, with only Scream Scream and Child's Play being its two rivals for that title, is also probably one of the most diverse horror franchises. Evil Dead has gone from straight horror possession to horror comedy to comedy and back to horror. If there's any horror franchise that can pull off an action horror direction, it would be Evil Dead. So for the fact that Evil Dead was made by a group of friends all in their late teens and early 20s on an indie film budget, was able to create a franchise that has stood the test of time and is still going strong more than 40 years later, and that there hasn't been a bad entry yet. Granted, there may be ones you don't like as much as others, but there's not really a bad entry in the Evil Dead franchise. Not to mention that the Raimis, Campbell, and Tapert have turned the franchise into a medium where up-and-coming filmmakers get to take their shot at a major horror franchise to make a name for themselves. It's just awesome. So for all of that, Evil Dead is a cinematic achievement. Thank you so much for watching. My next video essay will be about how these YouTubers turned filmmakers are changing Hollywood with films like The Backrooms, Obsession, Iron Lung, Talk to Me, and even Shelby Oaks. My name is Mickey and I'll see you guys.